Hi everyone, welcome back for another installment in our video series about Carmen. I'm Wojciech Milewski, Music Director of COT, and now we get to dive into Act 2, the famous act that really turned Parisian audiences off of Carmen. Today, one of the most celebrated, most beloved acts of Carmen, but back then caused quite some controversy, and I will tell you exactly how that happened. Well, it started right from the beginning with the opening number. Of course, we have an entr'acte. Each one of the acts in Carmen has its own entr'acte. They are famous now several times, so many times actually, I should say, multitude of times they're performed as concert works on programs, and they're also part of the concert suite edition of Carmen, played by orchestras around the world, beloved by all audiences. But we begin Act 2 with something called the Romali, the gypsy dance, if you will. And this is what it's named and called in Carmen, one of the most famous sort of numbers where there's this very evocative dance that happens. It's the three sisters, if you will, Carmen, Mercedes, Frasquita, the three gypsy girls all singing together, this famous sort of bohemian dance, if you will. And later we find out that they were made to do this by Zuniga. He ordered them to do this for his own enjoyment and benefit. But it was also a really beautiful way to showcase some of the musical and cultural traditions of Seville, of that part of the world. And that's how Act 2 begins. We'll dive right into this. But again, the setting itself would have caused quite a stir, apart from the number itself. We're now set in an inn, in a bar, Lilas Pastias' tavern. Lilas Pastia, the famous sort of helper of the smugglers. He helps them, gives them shelter, and sort of helps with the smuggling and things like that, of that nature. But the locale here, again, we just went from a cigarette factory and now we're at a bar. What scandal? We're at the family theater at the Opera Comique. Well, just you wait. So after we get the gypsy song, the gypsy dance, the Romali, another character enters the opera famously, Escamillo, the toreador. What an incredible job by the writer of the novela Carmen, Prosper Mérimée, to do such thorough and deep research. There are so many letters and literary sources that he pulled together to create his famous novela Carmen in the 1840s. But he spent many years traveling, writing to people, even famously speaking with the Empress of Spain, who would give him all this insight and tell him all these famous stories. And so much of it that enamored him was especially about bullfighting culture. Well, the toreador's entrance is in this famous sort of bolero style at the opening. And then Escamillo, this gallant, noble hero, if you will, presents to us a vivid description of a bullfight, the famous toreador en garde. Of course, that's the famous part everybody remembers, but apart from that, in his entrance, in his aria, we learn all about a bullfight. This would have been incredible, sitting in Paris, watching this for the first time, having never been there. Wow, how cool this place is. They have these amazing heroes that fight bulls on horses. Whoa! And so we still it gets lost on us a bit now, but can you imagine back then? You would have never been able to see one. You would have never even heard of one, and now you're being presented this vivid account. Our Escamillo does an amazing job of presenting this story so vividly. Well, after he rouses the entire audience and the entire place, of course the bar has to close. We are asking everybody to leave, please, so we can discuss other business like smuggling. We meet more characters. Dan Cairo, Remendado, the rest of the band, if you will, the rest of the band of the smugglers, Carmen, Frasquita, Mercedes, Dan Cairo, Remendado, now will all famously sing a quintet. The famous Carmen Quintet, beloved and also feared by many musicians and performers of this amazing work. It's such a fun piece of music, all about how we have some business to get done. All right, are we off to do it? And it's this really sort of fun, cheerful piece of music. And the crucial part of this is that we learn that Carmen is in love. She is in love. Je suis amoureuse. They can't believe it. Carmen? You, Carmen? Carmen, the stealer of all men's hearts? You're in love? No way. It's It's a famous pivotal point in the story because we finally are seeing a lot of transformation in these characters. Well, famously, there's a character who's not in the opening half of Act 2, and that's Don José. It's because he's been in prison for letting Carmen go at the end of Act 1. Well, he finally returns with an offstage aria, Haltela, chi va la, dragon d'Alcala. As the smugglers decide what they're going to do, is he with us? Is he against us? Is he going to help us? What are your thoughts, Carmen? They're sort of testing out the waters, but he appears, and we are set up for a fiery finale. Of course, Carmen is thankful that he went to prison for her. She must repay the debt, so she dances for him. But in the midst of this dance, Don José, enamored by this lifestyle and this culture, he wants to be a part of it. Something happens. He hears something. We hear this bugle call from a distance. The sound of the guard changing, and it triggers something within him to go back to, I have to go follow my duty, I have to go do my orders, I'm still a soldier, I cannot possibly leave here. You can imagine how that made Carmen feel. Not quite well. And she lets José know this. And in the famous sort of tumultuous ending to Act 2, we have this very chaotic fight, this really big interaction, argument, if you will. And this is what probably truly set audiences off. Right before the intermission, we have this massive fight where there's talk of anger and possibly killing someone, or liberty, give me freedom. This wouldn't have gone over well at the family theater of the Opéra Comique. Well, it's exactly how Act 2 ends. It's a masterpiece of orchestration, of composition, and Bizet really shows off his finest attributes in the way he writes that final duet between Carmen and José and the ensuing finale when Zúñiga comes in. And now we have a situation because Carmen and José are in the heat of an argument, and here comes Zúñiga expecting to see Carmen, and here's the soldier. Go back, report to duty. No, thank you, I'm going to stay here. Whew, it sets up for a very, very tumultuous and fiery end to Act 2. Well, join us next time to find out what happens in Act 3 and 4 as we continue on with the next video installment. Thank you for joining me. Until next time.